I went from Navy SEAL to multi-millionaire with John McAfee as the CEO of his company. He was the founder, to the pit of despair, to the penitentiary, federal pen, and then back up again. Now, I was facing 15 years in prison, but obviously I'm not there right now. And so something had to drastically happen, especially since my lawyer that I paid $50,000 to said that it was a 0% chance. He said a 1 in 1,000 chance, literally with his own words. That was the chance I had of becoming a free man after the FBI was chasing me for 2 years, 2 long years. And this is the story. Now, I also did the Marines, black water operator for the Nisar Baghdad's Bloody Sunday, where unfortunately a lot of civilians got killed. And all that kind of ties in with the FBI, the DOJ, but that's for another story coming up, and how I joined the SEALs and all that stuff. And if you don't believe me, I don't blame you. That's what research is for, Jimmy Watson, class 283. But it's really not for those who don't believe me. It's for those who really, really want change through the good, the bad, the ugly, vulnerable story of the truth. And so that's why I'm here right now telling you this, to help those who are in desperate need right now. Because the only way up out of this pit of despair that I was in, a 1 in 1,000 chance, and the only way that I'm sitting right now talking to you right now is through the power and the mighty hand of God himself. And I hope that this grabs your heart by the end of this journey that you take with me. So don't forget to subscribe for the other videos. But my journey starts, what a part of that journey starts with my mom. You know, they say every outlaw like John Dillinger goes back home to see his mom one more time, and that's how he gets killed. That's how he gets thrown in the clinker. And that's exactly how God planned to wrangle me in, like Jonah in the belly of the whale. But as you know, Jonah was spit out of the well after 3 or 4 days and then went on his real mission because he was running from himself. And when you're running from yourself, or in my case, the law, then you're running from yourself. And when you're running from yourself, you're running from God. But as I would later find out, doing mercenary work in Nicaragua, a communist country, and San Salvador, and Colombia, Medellin, and all other places, dark places of the world, that God was in every single dark corner with me. And I'm going to be able to prove that if you go on this journey. So I ended up going home one last time to Dallas, Texas, of all places, to see my mom for coffee. Now, I don't know if you've ever been in this situation, but to say bye to your mom one last time, whether she's on her deathbed, a family member, and you know that's the last time you're ever going to see her, or you're running like I was from the law, like an outlaw, like a man on the fringes of society. And I was one wild dude, and I'm lucky to be alive just talking to you right now. We're not in prison for life, you know. As cliche as that is, it's true. And so I go home to see my mom one last time because I bought a plane ticket to Bali, a non-extraditionary country, which I later found out by the FBI, there's no such thing as non-extraditionary. They just go in and do a under-the-hand, under-the-table business deal, a deal with them, and then they haul your ASS out of there, right? And so I got this plane ticket to Bali, this paradise, this island in Indonesia, a one-way ticket. I had it in my hand, it just came through on my phone with my Bali visa. And I go see my mom. I'm literally leaving the next day on a one-way flight out of America forever. But the sickening feeling of it was that I was going to Bali, but Bali was my death sentence. Because an outlaw or a man on the fringes, he lives in terrible fear all the time. He lives in anxiety in his heart. And how did I go from making $20,000, $25,000 a day for many, many days on end as a CEO of John McAfee to now my life is about to radically change. And it's going to change for the good. But first, there was a purification process that had to happen. And there's a purification process that has to happen in your life for you to move to the next level. And it's just the way the universe is. It's the only way. The only way is through the gauntlet, through the pain, and through this purification process that I'm about to show you right now. And I had to go through it numerous times in my life to get here right now to tell you this. So I go see my mom. I'm at coffee. I'm about to walk to her car with her. In fact, we're walking up to her car, and this peace comes over me. And I look over at my mom, and I hadn't felt this kind of peace for years. I don't know when the last time I had any peace whatsoever. Even in the SEALs, after 12 to 14 combat deployments, depending on how you count them. You know, the Marines count them different, the SEALs count them different, but 12 to 14 combat deployments throughout my time. But I had lost everything somewhere on the night shift. And maybe that's you right now. Maybe you feel like you're completely lost in this world and you don't know where to go to hope or where to find it. And that's why I'm here right now, to share this story with you, to find hope back into your life. So I'm walking back to the car. I say, Mom, somebody must be praying for me, because they believed in Jesus. I didn't know if he was still real in my life. I knew about Jesus, I knew about God, but I didn't know if he was really real in my life still, because I was a bad man. I figured if he is real, I'm going to hell, right? And so there was no way I could be saved. That's what I thought. There was no way this guy right here, this wild man who they called the Texas tornado, and that's not a good thing in the SEALs. It's called a natural disaster. It may look cool, and it may have been cool in the SEALs at the time, but only 2 guys were named after natural disasters, Hurricane Cage and Texas tornado. So it wasn't a good thing, right? It was too wild. It was too crazy. And my life was unraveling in front of my face, and I couldn't stop it. Because once that ball of yarn starts to unravel in your life, you can't get it back. You can't put it together, right? And I was lost in the sauce, they say. So I'm on my way back to the car with my mom, and this black SUV just rips up like this and almost runs over my toes. And I had kind of tunnel vision at the time. I didn't see the other SUVs at the time. But I looked through this window and I'm thinking the only thing this could be was either the mob or the law in this scenario concerning me. And so I'm looking through the window, and you know, they talk about mob guys getting killed at a coffee place or out with their family. You have no time to react. When it's that close and you're looking down the barrel of a gun like I was, this guy had a barrel, and this all plainclothes dudes with beards and stuff, and I'm just looking down the barrel of this pistol, and this guy is hitting the window like this and yelling my name. He said, Jimmy Watson. And all I can say is, yeah, because when you know your time is up, man. There's no ands, ifs, or buts about it. And I was actually relieved, okay? I didn't know if it was somebody about to shoot me or it was the law or who it was. Well, it happened to be 15 FBI agents and the Dallas SWAT team, because they considered me a flight risk and a danger to society because I was a former SEAL. I later found that out, okay? I later found out a lot of this. And so they put me on the ground. They're in plain clothes. Some of them have the blue FBI thing, whatever, the jacket. And then they wrangle me up. They're high-fiving each other. And I'm like, dang, man, you guys just ruined my life. You guys are laughing about it, which is cool, whatever, because it's what I deserved at the time. And so I get put in the back of the SUV. I'm in handcuffs like this. And the guy's like, you know, we've been looking for you for 2 years, Jimmy, and you're going to prison for a long time. And I was like, whatever happened to innocent until proven guilty, man? You know, and I was being antagonistic or antagonizing him, of course. But deep inside, I was relieved to be wrangled in. Because when you're running, you're relieved when you get wrangled in, you know? And sometimes it's the best thing in the world that can happen to you. In my case, it was. Like Jonah in the belly of the whale, I'm telling you. And so I'm sitting there, I'm handcuffed. At the time, though, it was devastating, just devastating. But I started laughing and joking around because that's what us men do. Just like Napoleon said, you gotta laugh at man to avoid crying for him. And he had saw a lot of death on battlefields, and he knew how to get through the bad situations. And that's how I got through a lot of my life. And maybe that's how you're getting through stuff in your life right now, is you're laughing your way through, joking around, but you know deep down inside, it's hell. And so I started joking back with the FBI. I started saying, they started asking me how many pull-ups I could do as a SEAL. And I was like, take these handcuffs off and I'll show you, bro. You know, laughing and joking because that's all I could do. So they transferred me to a county where I stayed the first night. And all I could think of is I'm up all night like this. And I'm just like, man, I could literally be on an airplane. It was torturous because the very next day I was supposed to go to Bali. And now I'm looking at 15 years of hard time in prison, okay? And I'm about to find out my charges and everything. And they didn't really tell me anything. In fact, they transferred me to the same federal pen as the Tiger King. The Tiger King was in a pod right next to me. But first, they processed me through. They looked at all my tattoos, asked if I was part of any families. Then they put me in solitary confinement because COVID was going on, and they had to isolate me for 4 days. So my first experience is in a federal pen in solitary confinement, a place called the Shoe. Dudes are yelling. It's so freaking loud in there. I couldn't even think it was so loud in there. And then the lights, these bright lights come on you every morning, and that's how you know it's morning time. And all night long, they're wrangling these keys and doing this count on you and flashing this light. And I'm telling you, I couldn't believe that they kept people down in this hole, this Shoe, because it was like a real dungeon. and there was nothing to do. There was a little, 17, 16 inch of a mat just laying on the ground in the center of the floor, and they're giving you these 3 crappy meals a day. And I'm like, man, this is as bad as it gets, right? And so on the 4th day, my lawyer comes and sees me in the dungeon. And now I paid this guy, I later paid him $50,000 cash to tell me this one thing: Jimmy, you're going to prison for a long time. The FBI has been looking at you for 2 years, and now you're looking at 12 to 15 years, no matter how you slice it or dice it. And I'm like, dang, because I'm already 39 years old at the time. And I'm thinking, man, my life is over. Why am I paying you this money to tell me that my life is over, man? And so he tells me I'm charged with racketeering, conspiracy, money laundering, wire fraud, and a bunch of other stuff, crypto touting, and everything except for tax evasion that McAfee was charged with extra. Okay, I get charged with the same exact things. In fact, I wasn't that special, but I was associated to John McAfee. He was like a dad to me. He was like a father to me. And I became like his right-hand man, his executive advisor, doing all his negotiations, and then later his CEO. We were traveling around the world, doing crazy things in Ibiza, Spain, and Mallorca, like all kinds of cool stuff. And partying with Russian oligarchs. And I'm gonna do videos on all that stuff, but I'm in federal pen now. And it's a terrible place to be, obviously. And so they transfer me to the main pod eventually, and they say I'm looking at being transferred upstate New York by the same guys, the DOJs that's coming after me, is this Southern Manhattan District. And these guys are known for being the SEALs of the DOJ. And they never lose. 98% of their cases is they wipe you out. And so I'm about to get wiped out, and they want to transfer me. They don't want to let me on house arrest pre-trial before my trial, my main trial. And so I got to go in front of a Texas judge, but all the inmates are saying, dude, it's so negative in there. They're like, dude, they ain't gonna let you out. You going upstate, brother. And then you're gonna do a year and a half probably in the prisons up there, and then you're gonna go to feds again for 15 years. I said, man, this is bad. And so it was a hopeless situation. And so they transfer me to the courts to stand before the judge. But first, my first experience, that when I go into the main pod, my cellmate, his name is Smoke, and the whole cell smells like smoke. And he's like, hey man, what's up? And he asked me what I'm in there for. I tell him the limited information I know. And he's like, you a snitch or a child molester? Are you one of those two? And I said, hell no. I'm trying to be all hard. I've seen the movies. I'm like, hell no, Smoke. What are you talking about? And he's like, well, because if you were, when these doors open up, you're going to get stabbed up, period. And that's when I knew how real this place was. Now, state's bad, county's bad, feds are bad. It's all bad. Jail is jail, but there's different levels to the feds. But the one thing I realized was it was highly respectful in there, from the guards, from the inmates, because everybody's afraid of being stabbed up, And so that's when it really hit me. And I was like, I got to be in here. I got to probably do some crazy stuff. Now, I'm thinking these crazy Shawshank Redemption stuff, right? And so it's like a nightmare. Like nobody ever expects this in their life. But you make little bitty choices along the way that lead to a situation like this. And only until you're in that situation, like in the feds, do all these things start coming to your mind that you did, these little things along the way that perhaps got you there, these little breadcrumbs, right? To the big house. And so they transfer me to the Texas judge, right in front of a Texas judge. And this is the moment where it's the big showdown. It's me, the Texas judge, the Southern Manhattan District representative, all the way from New York to Texas. And I go in front of the most Texas country judge you've ever seen in your life. And he's like, what's this boy in here for, And I'm like, oh Lord, he's gonna put me in the lecture chair right now, what's up? And so they tell him my situation, and the DOJ argues that this guy's a flight risk, and he can't be let out on house arrest. And he's a SEAL, he's a danger to society. Well, that's when they messed up, because I wasn't no danger to society. Now, I was a flight risk, before, but now I was tired of running. I'd been gone for 2 years running, man. Nicaragua, San Salvador, Medellin, Colombia, all over the world. And so I was tired, gone home one last time with my mom, whatever. So I'm standing in front of the judge, and the Texas judge says, you know what, he's a SEAL? And they're like, that's right. Put this guy in the slammer. He's a dangerous society. And I had actually asked the FBI why they came in force, right? And he told me because I was a SEAL. And that really pissed me off deep inside, because that's how they were treating our patriots, right? Our veterans. But it is what it is. And so the Texas judge says, he's a SEAL? And they said, yeah. And the Texas judge says, Boy, we don't do that this south of the Mason-Dixie line to our SEALs. He let him out on house arrest. He's gonna sign a $5 million promissory bond. So I was like, dang, what's up? And so I didn't have to go back to the feds, but I did have to go on a 1.5 years of pretrial confinement where my life gets even more crazy. John McAfee ends up being found dead in a prison. My life all of a sudden turns around, and I hope that you follow along this journey for the next video because it's about to get down and gritty. Make sure you subscribe. All my love. Keep it real.